for you to hear from our trainer and speaker tonight. She has been absolutely rocking it, top three in sales. She's been having incredible weeks and on target, hopefully to be in the top 10 of the Diamond Seminar for sales. And we decided it was time to get her in front of you. And the nice thing about this topic is this is something that she's actually doing. But some of this comes from a director call from Kristen Sharp. And then I told her just put yourself into it because you've got a thing or two to share with all of us with how you have really transformed your business. So let's give it up for Kelly Moore. So excited to hear from you. I'm going to put you on speaker view and I'm going to mute everybody else out.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies. Yeah, I'm excited, but very nervous. This is only the second time I've helped teach, and so really trying to step into my role. And yeah, so I get the pleasure of talking to you ladies about what I do with my full circle parties as well. And so I was trying to think like where to start, and I guess I'll just start at the very beginning. So I needed names, I needed people in order to hold parties. Was done with the way I was doing it. I wasn't, getting anything else. I hadn't had any sales, in a little while, kind of in a little slump. I exhausted all my family and friends, and so I was like, now what do I do? And so I needed to get people's names. And so by doing that, I did referrals, leads, and then my beauty boxes that I had at different places here in Payette, or in a little small town. And so most of my leads actually started from those beauty boxes, the facial boxes that I have at several different businesses, as well as referrals from some friends and family members. And then I also did a couple from some vendor events that I did as well and was able to get those. Those are not as popular. You get a lot of names and they want like one or two things just from your sale, but don't want to like stick to it and continue to purchase. And so I have a better chance of doing the parties and booking the full circle when I do it from the beauty boxes because they already know that's what they're looking for. They want the free facial, they want to have that party. And so at first it was kind of scary, but then I was like, you don't have to throw this big extravagant party. You can do it with as little as, two or three people, around your kitchen table. Or, I try and do mine about eight or less. That seems to be my perfect magic number, is between 6 and 8 people. One, that's all that fits around my table. And two, it's when I can get into the studio, that Kelly has and has that opportunity for us as well. And so, um, but most of mine are between that 3 and 8. I try to keep it at that. One, it takes too long. If you get too many people get tired, they start to leave. You never get them checked out and, they don't get back to you. And then I would hurry through the closing process. And so that's where I struggled when I had more than that, to like skip through, and I wouldn't share the opportunity. I'd be just like, get the sales, get the money, and be done, and get them out. And so my little happy medium is right in that 3 to 8 people. I started off with just 3 hostesses. I was just, working these parties in ways that I hadn't worked them before. And so I really try not to leave the party without those 2 future bookings at any point. That's my minimum. I try and get, out of it. If I get more, great. Then those parties, continue to book from there, and booking straight from those parties that I'm hosting or doing the hostess with. I would also send my hostesses samples. That was my big takeaway and big difference that I've seen my numbers and my sales skyrocket because they were able to try the product before we even met with them. And so I've done a couple different things with the samples that we get in the section 2 that we can buy, as well as some that I actually found that it's cheaper for me to do myself and mail them out to them. And so I've been doing that, and I'll show you what that is at the end. But that was my turning point, is to be able to do that. Um, and so people already, when I would mail the samples out to them, they were already falling in love with the products before they even met me or saw me and stuff. And so by the time they got here, they were like, oh yeah, they would be, bringing a friend and talking to that friend of like, oh my gosh, I tried this. You have to try this. And, they would up it up before I would even get to the point of selling the product to them, because it really sold itself because they've already tried it. And so it expanded whatever that party was just by sending those products out to them in advance. Um, and so um, from what I was doing with, just the simple party or the glass facial or the repair line, we did anything even as simple as, my first couple ones were just like mani-pedi, because we had all the Mint Bliss and socks and everything. And like everybody got a pair of socks and everybody got a Mint Bliss. And, we just would, up it from there of like, okay, well, here's the satin hands and here's this. And it ended up being really cool. Um, but those three parties always led to, the next three. And so my three went to six and my six went to 12. And I was doing anywhere between 12 and 15 since Kit to Commit, started. And so it's really kept that monthly momentum without me having to slow down and be like, oh, I don't have anything left, because I'm constantly doing that full circle and booking from my parties. And so at first it was like, oh, I'm doing the Kit to Commit originally was just about the prizes, get in the raffle, whatever, we're doing, or I want that prize, I want that. And that was my motivation. And then, second to best, the money came in and I was like, hey, this is kind of nice, this is an extra little cushion, and I don't have to worry about how am I going to pay for leadership? How am I going to pay for career conference, whatever we were doing, I always would have that money in advance because I just did 12 parties, and some of my months were, 5, 7,000. And so it was really a nice little cushion. And the prizes were just extra. Hey, I got into this, raffle, I got into this and won, several really cool prizes. My team building, on the other hand, is still slow. I'm slowly getting people in. I've had, 3 in the last month, which has been kind of nice. But the commissions, are not slow. They're just right there, because I'm doing the work and following through with everything that my director says and what my senior director, taught her. And it just has come full circle, not just of what we're doing, but everything that I've been taught, in that process as well. So it's really cool, not just selling the products, but you can see, it basically talks for itself. It tells you, that one, I'm selling all the products. I'm a star consultant, quarter after quarter. I'm earning the prizes, I'm getting into the drawings, and my commissions, have been really nice. And so you may be thinking, where do you start? So I reached out originally to those that had bought a Miracle set or a repair line that hadn't reordered in quite a while. And I was like, hey, I see you haven't reordered in, so many, months or whatever it was. How would you like to get it for free? And I would be able to book it, at my house, at their house, at the studio, or even online, because a couple of my people are still, out of state. I'm still expanding all the parties and stuff that I do, from out of state. And so I was able to, mail the products out and be like, here's the samples, this is what we're going to do, and then hold the party, virtually on our Zoom, that way as well. And so I tell them, just invite your girlfriends. I'll provide, drinks and snacks if it was in person. I would, provide a couple little fun games and a little giveaway if it wasn't, that I would mail out to them. And so it just kept it still as a party, just like if I was doing it here, the online didn't prevent me from still making it fun. and they don't have to clean up, I get to do that. They can just sit back and relax and earn the products for free if they said yes. And so I did the beauty boxes after that. After I, exhausted my list of who hadn't bought in a while, and then did the beauty boxes. And so that was, quick and easy. And I had, stupid little slogans or whatever on them, people are going to laugh, but, it was like, hey, what other better place to get your skincare, to match your pearly whites? Or I have one at a hair salon that says, the skincare products, I have skincare products that you're going to want with that new hairstyle. And so people would, put stuff into the little beauty box to get, their name in that. And so I did that. And then I did the vendor events as the last, like I said earlier. Um, so, and then I would just ask, other little friends, who would that is interested in what we do? And then, those would just roll into other leads, into other referrals and stuff. And I would just ask, hey, so and so, would you help me? I'm in the contest for this and I want to, build this and whatnot. And, people are willing to do it, especially when you say you can, earn some free products, especially if they're already using it because it's already selling it themselves. They're like, yeah, I'll save $100. I'll throw a party with a couple of my girlfriends that, haven't tried it, or hey, they're still stuck on this one. And, it's kind of how we, wrapped Jackie around our finger of like, hey, you don't have to do this product. This one's much better and easier. And, now she loves it. So, um, I always would, yeah, definitely incentivize my hostesses as well, where they can get anywhere from $100 to $130 in free products. So, and if they held the party, on their original date, they didn't rebook or reschedule, they had an incentive for that. If they gave me their guest list with the phone numbers 4 days before the party, 10 days if I had to mail out the product or the samples, I would get that so that way I could pre-profile them. Um, and then, of course, I incentivized them based on their sales with specific dollar amount. And then, as well as if I got those future bookings. So, looking for those two parties, to at least be booked, a minimum, two. If they invited 10 and 10 people said yes, I was always hoping for at least half. And that, was filling my calendar. And like last month, I ended up with 15 parties. So it actually worked. And then if I ended up with four bookings or more, I would also not only give them their monetary value, in that. And I do have it broken down of what I give them. If you guys want to know that, if they held the party on the original date, they got $25 in free product. If they gave me their guest list in the time that I, suggested, the 10 days, if I was mailing a sample, or 4 days before hosting the party, then they got 25. If I had 10 or more names, and they said 10 names that said yes, they got $30 instead of the 25. So that was a good incentive that a lot of people were giving me more names. So I had a better chance of better people saying yes. And then for sales, if they did 250 in sales, I gave them 25. If it was 300, it was 30, 500, 35. And if it was an 800 or more, because, a lot of my parties have been really big lately, it was $50. And so I would just tell them, this is what I do and this is how I do it. And, part of it is that pre-profiling and stuff that gets them, where they may have said, no to them or to the hostess, they're not saying no to me now. So that's been a pretty cool feature.
Can I
And
ask
then,
you just a quick question? I'm
yeah.
so sorry to interrupt, but in case anybody's wondering, so do you incentivize them also for future bookings, for two bookings?
Yes. So the future bookings was $25, yeah, for if I get two bookings. And then if I get more than that, then they also get the 25 plus a half price one item.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I would slowly start working on their pre-profiling, not just on the yeses, but I would go through their maybes as well, or the, well, I'm not sure yet, what's going on. If they said no, then I, told them to leave them off the list. But anybody that said yes or maybe or I'll let you know, I got all those names and was able to text, a little thing out to them. Currently, I'm trying to keep it between that 12 and 15 because, one, it gets to be a lot. Two, still have a full-time job, temporarily. It's slowly being peeled back. But it made it a little bit easier, when I'm doing 15 parties to get, through 15 names per, each one. And that's a lot of names to get through, without being up all night long. But I would, do a quick little pre-profile and send them a quick little text message that would say like, hey Rebecca, this is Kelly Moore with Mary Kay. I'm gonna be there Thursday night, beautifying you guys at Denise's party. I just want to introduce myself real quick and ask you a few questions, and then tell them, hey, do you use normal to dry, or are you a combination to oil? Number two, is there any specific concerns you want to have addressed, that night? Acne, sensitive skin, are you aging, anything like that, sunspots? Number three, is there a brand of skincare that you are loyal to or that you really love? I want to know about that so I know how to, talk them out of it. And number four, what's your favorite color? And I always asked them the color for their headband. And so that was their other little free thing that came, with their little mirror and tray set that I set up. I would have their favorite color in a headband or a scrunchie or something, which Kelly taught me. That was pretty cool. And then I would say, I'll see you on Thursday. I'm going to have some snacks there because you guys are coming straight from work. I can't wait to see you Thursday at 4 p.m. And then once that text goes out to everybody, I would follow up again, with the hostess and let her know, hey, I got these many yeses or, this many no's or whatever. And then we would compile that list and stuff, make sure I get the samples out to everybody. When they text back and say yes, I'd be, oh, okay, great. I'm going to send you a sample. Let me have your address and get them their sample so that way they can try it right before, within that first couple days before we meet for the party. And then usually the day before the party, then I would text back, one last time and say, hey, Rebecca, this is Kelly again. I'm excited tomorrow for the big day. I'll have your mirror and tray ready, to go for you. Like I said, there'll be snacks, but I want to also let you know that we're going to start right at 4 o'clock, but we'll be finished, at 5:30. So I won't hold you hostage all night long, in case you have, a busy evening or other things that you need to get to. I'm not going to hold you up, And then I just realized that those texts, really helped build that rapport with me and them right before I even met them or, getting to know them at that same time. And then if also, they would realize, oh, thanks for the reminder, or, they would say, something came up, but thanks, I know you're, setting a place for me, don't worry about it or whatever. And when I get those conversations and stuff, which I've had a couple here and there, I try and book those people right then and there right away instead and say, hey, that's fantastic. Denise is very excited to get, her free products and stuff. But if there's anything you are interested in looking at, I'll send you a brochure. And, if you want, free products as well, then, we can book a party. And so I'll talk to them a little bit about that, and, can I get a phone call, or whatnot. I don't want to hold them, with a lot of back and forth, but I would definitely try and do that first booking and, get back to the host and say, hey, so and so, isn't going to be able to make it, but guess what? They're going to have a party of their own. She would love your support as well. And through that. And so working in this way, I don't have to just, sit back and wait for my customers to reach out to me like I used to do, waiting for the sales, waiting for those reorders, or, customers waiting for, different things on the VIP page or the holiday sale for those that, only did it once a year. I was able to just watch the momentum of working the business by doing the actual sales instead of just, passively waiting for everything to just come to me instead. And so it's great when your parties lead, to more parties and then to more parties and then to more parties. I don't have to worry about next month, well, how am I going to, be able to go to seminar if, I haven't sold anything in the last 30 days or whatever. I'm just working that process in that full circle to be able to know, okay, I've already paid for it, it's already in my account and it's ready to go. And, it's exciting, stuff when you can just keep doing that. And then the numbers just, talk for themselves. And so that's how I do my quick little full circle around right now. And so I thanks. Let me talk your ear off.
Oh, Kelly, thank you so much. The thing is you're just such a, I got to put this back on, not on speaker view, on gallery. You're just the kind that just quietly works in the background. I've observed this from the time that you started, and you're not a lot of fluff. You just get in there and you just do it. And I watched such a shift for you. A couple things. I mean, since you started actually holding parties, we can all get incredible sales from reorders, website referrals, all that kind of thing. And so many of the things that you talked about with the facial boxes, nail salons, oil changing places are the things I know that I personally did and a lot of people did to build. But, the bookings from bookings it was something Mary Kay taught us. Every single party, and we would say that it was in our flip chart. At every party, Mary Kay said there's, somebody interested in the business, and there's at least a couple people who would want to hold their own. Wonder who it's going to be, and they walk around. But I love also the fact that when you're pre-profiling, if they say they can't make it, then you have an opportunity because you've got their information to book them.
Hmm.
Again, I don't know if you were taught that or you just kind of picked up on that, but that is
Yeah.
also a brilliant idea. I took a whole page of notes of doing this because watching, and I love your hostess plan. We're coming up with one that we can kind of use as an area when we start doing parties at the new event center. And the cool thing is you can do it your way, but what you're doing is clearly working because you're booking from your bookings. You're obviously have no problem selling the product. But your date book is full because you're doing
Hmm.
all of those small steps.
Yeah.
I want to open it up for questions. I could talk and talk because it's really been fun to watch you transform. But I want an opportunity for consultants to ask questions about, when you made the switch from just being kind of more of an order taker and doing online parties to actually doing in-person parties. So um, here's your guys' opportunity to kind of check in and ask Kelly questions about how she's doing this process or feedback, comments.
Yeah. And then I forgot I was going to come back to it as well. And so this is one of the little sample things that I send. This one is a salve. This is not a Mary Kay one, but this is exactly what it is. And I just get these little tiny containers, and they're about the size of a quarter, really, if you look at it in my hand. I don't know if you can see. But it's about the size of a quarter, and it actually was cheaper than the $3 samples that I could do in section two to get these little containers that just screw on and off and use the full size product and just put a little bit in there. It's like, maybe enough, I don't know how to explain it, like a pea, maybe a couple peas, you know? And so I would put the little moisturizer or the facial cleanser or whatever based on what they had said, when they did their pre-profile and put it in that. And it fits in a little tiny bubble package, like no bigger than this. And it's like $3 or a little less than $3 to mail out based on where I was mailing it, in Colorado. It's a little bit further, probably a little bit cheaper if I was doing it more locally and stuff. But the ones that I did outside, so for $3, is all it took, and you'd get a lot more samples out of one, you know, full cleanser than I do three times, for six little tiny samples on the section two. So I did want to point that out as well. And so
Where'd you
it's made
get
a
those?
big difference to be able to do those. I
I
get it
love
on
this.
Amazon. Yeah, and
I
they're
have a
like
ton of
13
those, you
cents a
guys. If
piece.
anybody needs them, I have
Yeah,
probably
they're like,
500 of those little. I know during COVID, we all kind of got behind that because we all wanted
yeah,
to start doing virtual parties and things. And I know the company was kind of like, well, we have samples, so let's make sure that's sanitary. But tons of people
It
have
is.
sent out
Yeah.
the samples in the little jars and stuff too. I'm kind of
Yeah.
curious about, this is one question that I have, and for the consultants, is kind of just your averages of how many people typically come to the party and your average sales for parties this last few months since you started really doing a lot of them.
Yeah, I typically, on average, will have about 4 people. That's my typical party. Like I said, I try and cap it at 8, because that's how many fit at my table and how many I'm comfortable with, to be able to talk to everybody and still have a little bit more personable one-on-one time with each and every guest. And then my average, right now is about 2,000 in sales on a monthly basis out
Okay.
of those parties on average. Some of them like this month, I had 2 parties and it was only 650, but
Mhm.
I then have this, the same amount of people and end up with, bigger sales like last month and ended up with 7,000 because one person did $2,000 in sales. So it
Right?
just is like hit or miss, but on average, yeah, it's pretty close.
So
Yeah.
pretty much, I mean, for real, you're averaging at least $100 a face, probably
Oh yeah.
double that, double to
Hmm.
triple that. Because
Yeah.
sometimes you guys, it is true, smaller groups together. Um, when you have less people, there's more one-on-one attention. And
Yeah.
you guys, people are spending hundreds of dollars at Sephora. Don't think people can't afford this stuff. They're spending it. These young girls that people wonder, like, where's all their income coming from? They're spending all their babysitting money and whatever on Sephora or Ulta. So don't be fooled that people don't have the money to spend on this kind of stuff.
Yeah. And they're doing the repair line more
Yeah,
than they are the miracle set. Now
yeah.
that, I was like, oh, trying to profile myself, people like, oh, if they're 50 and over, then I would focus on the repair. But Kelly's like, no, really, it's like 40 and some are 30 and some is this. And I'm like, oh, I'll just start there and like with everybody,
Hmm.
up. And I was surprised how many of the younger are like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to start with this one and not worry about waiting and having to change it.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, when you think about they're doing all these injectables and all these things
Hmm.
that, are the stuff that we have is preventable. I always tell people, I don't say it's for 50 plus, I say it's our premium line. When you say premium line,
yeah,
which it is, and you guys for
Hmm.
$235, it's incredible, incredible deal that they get.
yes. That's what Cindy Town always said, and she said it's easier to sell down than up. So
Hmm.
she always said, try,
Start high.
always use
Start
repairs
there.
to
Yeah.
parties unless you've got teenagers.
Mhm. Good. What other questions do you guys have for Kelly on really how to book, hold, and operate a full circle party?
I had a comment, not necessarily a question, but when I was training and learning all this stuff on the Waverly Way, Waverly really pushes the repair set to everybody, no matter the age, even teenagers, because the thing that we're finding is that there's more problems with skin looking aged when it has environmental factors that aren't really necessarily due to age. So 80%, I think, was the statistic. 80% of our aged look is environmental factors, not actually the aging process. That's really only for 20% of our aging on our skin. So I start out all of them. I mean, I guess probably if they're like 15 or younger, I don't start with the repair, but most everybody else, I start with repair and talk about that one and talk about the environmental factors. And like Jana said too, you can always go down, but you can never go back up. I honestly, in my perfect Mary Kay world, this is a little off topic, but I wish that we could do the Voluform foaming cleanser. Then we could do the night treatment out of the Miracle set, the moisturizer out of the Miracle set, the eye cream out of the repair, and then that would be the set. That's how I wish it worked, but I don't make the rules or whatever. So I've also been having people a lot of separating the sets and doing different things out of, the different sets or whatever.
Yeah,
So
you
I
can.
I
You can do
love the
that.
yeah, and that's why I've been kind of doing it. So I'm getting people more on like the pure retinol and then doing like the night treatment from the Miracle set, and then kind of customizing it, I guess that's the right word.
Yeah.
Thanks, Heidi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, build your own kit, really.
Yeah.
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 But I do love, okay, you guys, I'm old school. Like it was against the law to break the basic. Like we couldn't even sell it with the foundation by itself. That was so ingrained in us. It's part of the skincare. It's the number 5 step. It's the protect step. You cleanse, you tone, you exfoliate, you moisturize, and you protect. It's part of the high tanner story. And like we really weren't even, I shouldn't say allowed, but we really were not allowed. We were taught never sell the foundation without the whole basic skincare. And so it kind of felt like we were holding people hostage. But again, by getting people on the entire repair line, and then if there is one product, that somebody can't use, then they can customize. But, anybody 18 and up, we don't want to really be giving repair to anybody under 18. However, 18 and up, again, depending on their skin and their situation, but customize for sure if they're in that younger category. Yeah, good stuff. What else? What else, Kelly? Or what else does anybody have for Kelly? Comments, feedback? Rebecca.
Okay. So first of all, I just want to let you know and just affirm you, Kelly, you did an absolutely phenomenal job. You are so stinking cute. And I know that as you're like continuing to move up into leadership, the nerves and everything, it'll continue to get easier. But the thing that I think is so phenomenal about you is that, just kind of like what Denise said, and you are so just like quiet behind the scenes. And then like we get hit with these $5,000 weeks from you, and it's just so fun and it's so exciting and it pumps me up, honestly. But you have so many amazing things and so many amazing skills to offer. And so I just want to encourage you to just keep leaning into that and just know that you were born for this. You are such a natural leader and you are such an amazing trainer and you have so many awesome gifts to offer all of us. And that's the thing that I love so much is that we can all be so different and yet still have so much to give and make huge success of it. And so thank you so much for your time and your preparation to bring us this training. The thing that I love so much about what you shared that I like really, really took away is that you are building such a positive and amazing touch point relationship with them, and that builds trust. And when people trust you, clearly, right, their bookings hold better. They're more willing to rebook with you and or book if they can't come. That's brilliant, by the way. I was so glad that you said that because I'm like, girl, if you have their information, just rebook them. And so I'm glad that you're doing that. And then, but then the retention is so different, right? And rather than having to chase people, like they want to be in your space and they want to reorder from you and they want to support you. And so, that's a thing. One of the biggest things that I took away is I was like, wow, look at you, whether you're making phone calls or texting, you're building this rapport and this relationship with them. They trust you. And so they want to support you with their money because just like we found out at Career Conference, people are spending money. They're spending hundreds and thousands of dollars on whatever it is, whether it's skincare, makeup, new wardrobes, injections, Disneyland, vacations. How many people are on spring break spending thousands of dollars right now? Like there is so much money and you're doing what you can to get a piece of the pie. And I just love that. Second thing that I absolutely love, and I'm so glad, such a smart thing. Sending out samples beforehand, absolutely brilliant. And I love the fact that you're utilizing Section 1. So for those who don't know, when we purchase samples, and don't get me wrong, the samples from Mary Kay are amazing and it's so good to have that as an option. However, the thing to know is that if you're going for any kind of wholesale goal like Kelly is, and you're seeing a lot of faces, it is so smart to do it this way because your samples count for Section 2. They do not count for Section 1, which is our wholesale. And so that's one thing that I was taught is you always use as much full-size product as you possibly can. Samples, there is a time and a place, and they're amazing. But if you can work from full-size Section 1 wholesale product, that is going to be the best bang for your buck always. And then it helps you towards whatever your wholesale goals are, like what Kelly is going for. So that's just smart Smart, smart, smart business. And then the other thing, if you're okay with that, I wanted to offer a tip of something that I used to do. And as you were talking, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to start doing this again because it's amazing. So, just like you started sending out samples beforehand and it upped your sales, one thing that you mentioned was that you're still working on your confidence where recruiting is concerned. So one thing that I used to do is part of the pre-profiling process. One thing that we would incentivize is we would send out a really, really quick, sometimes we would customize it for who we had in front of us, but we would send out like a quick 10 to 12 minute marketing video. And we would incentivize them to watch it before they came to their party. And we would, we always do drawings and giveaways and everything. And so we would incentivize the guests to watch it before they got to the party. And the thing that did so we did this when I was moving up through DIQ and becoming a director the first time. And what that did was just like with the skincare samples, it gave them an exposure to the product. They fell in love with it. Hearing about a little bit about Mary Kay as the business, Mary Kay, who she is, and the marketing, what it did was it gave them a glimpse into who Mary Kay is and what Mary Kay is all about before they even got to the party. And the great thing about it is that if they did not recruit, they were sold out on what I was doing and they wanted to support me. So kind of the same thing as like what you're doing, you're building, that trust. They would say, wow, this really is a company that I want to get behind. My sales went through the roof and my team building went through the roof. And so if they didn't join, they almost always purchase because they're like, this is a company I want to support. And so as you were speaking, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to share that with her. It would just be interesting to see, if you want to be careful the length, right? Because the attention span with the people, right? So you want to find something, whether you're doing it yourself or you find something online, maybe you're customizing it for like, you've got a single mom in front of you, go online and find a 10-minute single mom Mary Kay video or whatever. But again, that could, I would just encourage you to maybe possibly try it. But it worked amazing for me. And it just reminded me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to start doing that again. But hats off to you, girl. I am so excited for everything that you've been doing in your business. You are such an inspiration and just leading by example. And the cool thing about this is it's just going to not only continue to propel you to leadership, but then just like what Kelly has done with you, you get to pass that on and you are going to build such a phenomenal, strong team and unit who will then repeat what you're doing. So congratulations. Thank you so much for your training and I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, thank
Thank you,
you.
Rebecca.
That's great.
Great idea. Heidi,
Great
did you
idea.
have
I'm gonna
something?
put
You guys
that
were
in.
coming up on the end of our time. Oh, Jana, did you want to say something?
Oh, I just wanted to tell Kelly that I think you did a great job. I think you're an inspiration and I think you're coming into your own. And I really did appreciate everything you had to say. And if you ever make a hostess brochure, I would love to get a copy of it.
We're going to
I
do
had
that.
Thank you. Okay.
I had one question for Kelly,
Yeah.
if there's time.
Sure.
Okay, nice job, Kelly. That was fantastic, and I took notes. It was great, so thank you. Just quickly wanted to ask, do you create what you're going to demo based off of your hostess and her likes and dislikes, or do you just have standard, like when you pre-profile, you do repair or you do age appropriate, and then what else do you demo at that?
Yeah, so I give my hostess an idea, and usually give her 3 options and then ask her which one she wants to do. Like, during Christmas we did either mani-pedi or the glass facial or just a regular skincare routine. And so I usually stick to those because I'm comfortable in those and I've gotten my, way around them. And then as we continue to, go in person and do parties, then I'm getting those papers and be like, oh, I can throw that in now. Okay, now I understand that a little bit better and throw them in. But right now I'm giving them those, 3 options because we've done a lot of the glass facials now lately. And yeah, it kind of helps.
I love
And
that it's
use the
like a little
products
bit
throughout
more
the repair.
abbreviated version of the Hydra
Yeah.
session. I loved
Yeah,
doing it.
in the Hydra. Yeah.
Heidi, did you have something? You were putting your video on.
Yeah, I just want to say you did great, Kelly. It was awesome. And, those nerves as you grow, like Rebecca said, they totally get better and better and better. Super excited for you to be moving up into leadership. And I love how you're doing your full circle. I wanted to ask you about table close. Do you do a table close? Like, or do you like what are you saying to them to get them excited about shopping before you start doing individual closes?
So I do a quick little table close and then more just on the individual of, okay, let's look at your card and which ones were you the most excited about. And,
Okay.
and as they're depending on how many they have, if it's like, oh, I only want just this one or two products, I get, sidetracked and be like, okay, well, they're not really, into it, or how can I, change their mind or whatever. But on the bigger ones, those are the ones that I put a lot of my focus into. And I've had better, opportunity and talks with them. And then several have, turned the corner and now come to me and be like, hey, I'm gonna, start my own business through this now.
That's
But yeah,
awesome.
I'll sit there with the ones that do it. And those are a lot of the ones that will rebook too, because they'll have like, oh, I have like 5 or 6 things. And I'm like, okay, well, how about, if you got two of these, and you do everything that Denise just did for her party, you would be able to get two of these for free. How about you book a party, with 5 more of your friends or whatever? And so that's kind of how I lay out my parties right now because I'm not as comfortable as Denise when she does the big close.
You
That's
know,
awesome. Way to
Kelly,
go.
I wanted to say something about that too. Like, it was kind of funny because when we were at career conference, you're like, yeah, I'm really gonna just kind of take my focus a little bit off the recruiting because I really want to get in this top, I just want to keep my focus on sales. Well, you guys, you can't
Yep.
help but recruit if you're getting in front of
Right.
people. They're gonna see
Yeah.
what you're doing, and it's like, in spite of yourself, you got 3 new recruits, all came in with inventory, some significant.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when you think about, where am I going to find my people? It all starts here. So
Yeah.
thank you. You didn't seem nervous at all, by
Thank
the way.
you.
And
Oh,
you did
thank you.
amazing. Anybody
Thank
else real
you.
quick before we sign off?
Yes, I just want to affirm her too. I'm so proud. I just love it. You're just growing into an amazing, beautiful, literal, like the leader that you were meant to be. And you're doing so good. You're so coachable. Like Denise always told me, she's like, you just listen to what I say or what she says, and you're just doing it. And you're just making all of us so proud. I'm so, so proud of you tonight. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Okay, let's check out the chat real quick. There's a bunch of stuff on here before you get off. And thank you, everybody. Sandy, I love your background. I just wanted to say that. And I love your blonde hair too. Anyway, you guys, we have another really, really awesome training scheduled. We have a couple really awesome things coming up. So you are not going to want to miss the upcoming meetings. And we will be, of course, Zooming even when we go live in person. So have a wonderful, fantastic week. You guys get in front of new faces. 15 and 5. Anybody can do 15 faces and 5 sharing. You would be ending the month, think about the sales. You would be ending the month with probably a couple thousand in sales. Half that would be 40% would be your profit. You would probably have a new team member. And so make a goal, even if it's just for the month of April. And even if it's just to help your unit with your unit's goals of Cadillac Unit Club, whatever, because we represent you at seminar and where we sit, what kind of luncheon we're at, all of that kind of thing on your name badge. So have a wonderful, fantastic week, everybody. Thank you so much, Kelly. That was terrific.
You too.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Have a
night.
good
Thank
night.
you.